Good morning, everybody. Welcome once again to BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Matthew, I got to tell you, man, right off the bat, I'm freaking wore out. I did something last night extremely stupid. Very stupid. All right? Now, there's one thing that takes place for somebody that is slightly overweight. All right, I'm trying to lose weight. I really am. I'm working out. I'm working with the kids on the team. I'm going up and down the court. All right. Last night I made the mistake, although it was fun. I made the mistake by accepting a challenge, and that challenge was to go up and down for 20 minutes. And when I say up and down, I'm talking about going up and down the court for 20 minutes, 5-on-5. You will be glad to know, my friend, I went 8 for 10 from beyond the arc, had 24 points, and totally obliterated those kids.
Aren't they like 7th grade?
They're high school, dude. High school. 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. I feel like
this decision was impacted by the fact that we just had Randy Howell on the show.
No, I was
night
challenged,
before Randy
man.
Howell was on, he went and played 5-on-5 with the high school kids in Guntersville.
I was challenged.
I feel like you thought, well, if Randy can do it, then I can do it.
No, I was challenged, and I am paying the price because you know what I had to do when I got home?
Take some Metamucil?
No, I had to go to, do you know what the station is here in Moore?
Yeah, it's a place to eat.
No, I don't. It's a workout facility that the city of Moore built. Anyway, they have an indoor track. I had to go walk 2 miles with the wife.
Why?
That's what we're doing.
Why didn't you just say, hey, I played 5-on-5
because
basketball?
I'm dedicated. Because I wasn't going to break the routine. Just because I went out and acted stupid
to me.
So I'm wore out, dude. I'm freaking tired. And tonight we have a scrimmage. Then we have our first regular season.
You're not
freshman
overweight
game.
at all. What? You're what?
Yeah,
You're 6'4".
Yeah.
What? 230?
No, 240.
240.
Yeah, I'm trying to get down to 230, 225.
You don't look. I don't think.
That's what I'm trying to get down to. So they say it's better for my health and everything that I have going on. If I can stay below 230, I'm good to go. I mean, my high school weight was 225.
I mean, listen, you're 56. You just turned 56.
Yeah.
You're 6'4".
Yeah.
Big guys typically have more issues as they get older, correct?
Yeah.
With their joints. And you've got some health issues.
Yeah, dude, I lit it up last night.
You got to take a shot in the butt, every week?
I don't know.
How often do you have to get a shot in the butt?
3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Not in the butt, though.
Where do you...
Leg, arm.
Oh, they switched that up.
Rotated out.
But anyway,
I lit it up, man. I went 8 for 10.
Yeah, but were you doing that LeBron thing where you kind of hang back behind half court and then they feed you the ball and then they let the old man set up?
Dude. I was wore out.
I'm wore out too. Have you ever seen me walk into the studio a minute before the show starts?
No, I was impressed.
I wake up at 6:30. Have you ever done? You know how they say the term "jump out of bed"? You ever done that for a tournament, Mark?
Never. No. Never.
One time I was with Drew the Truth Smith, and we were fishing a tournament on Lake Murray. And he had a buddy who, as you know, the marina there, they have the houseboat.
Yeah.
So we got down there the night before, and it was a start at 6 a.m. tournament.
Okay.
And so we put the boat in the water. We tied up next to the houseboat. Great weather, whatever. We have a few cold ones.
Yeah.
Go to bed, wake up, and I kind of wake up. And it's kind of light out. You know, you're supposed to get to your spot at 5:30. Yeah. It's like 7:15.
That's not good.
That was the last time I remember just jumping out of bed like that.
Not good.
But we caught a limit like our first 5 casts. When we finally got out there, we missed about an hour and a half of the turn because literally we jumped out of. I was on the couch. He was in the bed on the houseboat. We jumped out and we hopped in the boat because the boat was tied up right there.
Very
in the
fortunate.
Same clothes right there. We were fishing within 5 minutes after we woke up.
Very fortunate.
That's like I was.
How was that Oklahoma City traffic? Probably not that bad once you got past the.
It wasn't bad. I was diving, dodging, dipping, ducking. I called you at 8:22 and was like, I'll be there.
I know. All right, good show today. We're going to have Jay Yelas on. Jay making the move back to the Elite Series, and really can't wait to hear his story and his decision, kind of how he went through the process of making the determination that he wants to go back. And, I mean, he's been doing this for a long time. He did mention to me it'd be nice to end my career over on the bass side. Classic champ, angler of the year.
Let's see if you know this trivia question.
Okay.
What are the last 2 events with bass that Jay Yelas fished, and what years were they?
He won the Classic in 2002.
Right.
That was not the last. It was the year before the Elite Series was formed.
What are the last 2 events that Jay Yelas fished with bass? He's fished 200 events with bass.
Yeah.
He's made 16 Bassmaster Classics.
All right, hang on. This is 18, so that was 12. 2011?
Oh, no, you're way off, dude.
All right, go ahead.
It was the year the Elite Series was formed.
Yeah, it was 2000. Or no, wait, hang on. That was 2000. Let's see. He was Angler of the Year in 2003. 2004.
Way off.
Okay, I don't know.
The 2006 Classic on Toho.
Okay.
That's the one I believe that Luke Clausen won.
Yes.
And the 2005 Classic in Pittsburgh. Those are the last 2 events that Jay's fished with BASS.
Is that because he won in 2000?
I don't know how he ended up getting into. I think I don't know. I'm assuming maybe because he made it through the E50s in 2005. No, because that was the year that it was the wraparound. Remember, everybody made the 2 classics.
All right, check out what I got. I'm gonna show everybody this. For iTunes listeners, you'll have to check out the replay.
I brought that back. I had that in my room for a long time, and I brought it back because it was yours. That is a
original
Jay Yelas cloth embroidered.
This is before he even won the Classic.
Skeeter Yamaha jersey. Read off some of the logos on there. I mean, it looks
Pennzoil, Marine, Trilene, Lowrance, Yamaha, Powerbait, Daiwa, Motor Guide, and Hobie sunglasses.
Nice. I was looking at his Facebook the other day. Jay has been wearing a flat brim. That's he's come a long way
styling and profiling
from the days
there.
of that. But that one was the hot one because this was the first one. This was kind of when I started following it. This jersey here, remember, it doesn't have the collar on it. It's the pullover mock collar.
Yeah.
That was the hottest trend
thick,
right
man,
there.
those things are so thick. Can you imagine wearing that in the summertime when the Classic was back in the summer?
Remember Harold Allen used to have those starched ones? He'd get the jersey starched. I mean, that thing was just crisp.
And his pants were...
The poofy back
His
on
pants
him.
were starched,
Remember
too.
you'd have the poofy back?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. A couple of housekeeping items real quick. Dude, you're on a mission now. There's somebody I want to get on the show simply because we are catching all kinds of grief. Maybe not you, maybe me. About the comment that was made about who the sticks are over on the Elite Series for 2019.
Right.
So one individual that I want you to get lined up for the Tuesday show, if any way possible. Tuesday is going to be our last show prior to our Thanksgiving break. Is Seth Feider.
He was just on.
Dude, I'm telling you, there is a guy named Jeff Ventura
who loves Seth Feider.
Yeah.
Dude, this Hobie logo on his jersey, I just looked
sunglasses.
it up. No, it's the exact same logo as the Hobie kayak.
Yeah.
So they made sunglasses before they made kayaks?
I think they did both.
Yeah, it's the exact same.
Yeah.
They don't make. Oh, I guess they kind of make it. They make sail and surf gear and all that stuff too.
And then I wanna do a quick shout out to David Wilder.
Oh wait, so I'm trying to get.
Yeah, try and get Seth Feider on for Tuesday.
Okay.
All right. David Wilder sent us one of the longest responses that we've gotten back in the history from last week.
You want to hit some of the highlights in that?
I didn't highlight anything. I just wanted to make sure before I forgot that we will discuss this. We'll probably talk about it on Tuesday of next week, but I wanted to give him props for sending in. He took a lot of time and broke down a lot of stuff.
I love the answers, and not every once in a while, I'd say every week, at least I get 2 or 3 emails from viewers and listeners that really make you think. I mean, it's impressive the understanding that they have of what's going on.
Yeah, and then the second one I want to get to is our good friend Mark from Michigan. He has a new job, and he's not able to watch us live, but he watches the replay and listens to the podcast. He brought up something in an email that he sent to me that I had not thought about. You, my friend, probably have already addressed in your mind and maybe in some of the discussions that you've had with people. But he said, I was looking over my 2019 calendar, and I was wondering, do you think that there's going to be any MLF guys that try to fish the Opens? and re-qualify for the Classic through the Opens. Have we even talked about that, Matthew?
I've talked to anglers about that. And
what have they said?
The MLF guys that I've talked to are all...
No,
they're all in on MLF. Didn't Gary Klaus mention that a little bit when he originally had said that he was going to fish the Bass Pro Tour? He also said that he would continue to fish the Opens, and there is no clause in the Bass Pro Tour contract, from what I understand. I have not personally seen it, but based on the anglers that I have talked to, that they cannot not fish other tours.
Yeah.
It's just that the schedule on top of it makes it impossible.
He broke down the Open schedule.
Right, and it's doable.
He says the only possible travel conflict is with event number 6, depending on the location of event number 6 and how far the angler might have to drive. All right, based upon that. But there's no conflict with the Harris Chain. This is in the Easterns. No conflict with the Harris Chain. No conflict with the James River. No conflict with Lake Oneida. Now, in the Centrals, no conflict with Toledo Bend. No conflict with Smith Lake. For lacrosse, it does conflict with the Summit Cup, but if you didn't qualify for it, guess what? You can fish the Opens if you want. And then Grand Lake, no conflict.
I don't know. I would think there's got to be at least one of those guys. There's got to be a couple guys who want to. Okay, there's got to be a couple guys. What you're also not taking into effect is, you're like, oh, this is the last time we're going to see all these guys in the Classic, right? This March in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Well, there's a pretty damn good chance that one of the guys who wins it is going to be an MLF guy. Yes. Guess what you get if you win the Classic?
A Classic berth.
So there's going to be at least one in 2020 who gets back. So as long as Jordan Lee keeps winning the Classic, this did cross my mind. It was, no one's going to be able to break Klun's record, the 4 that Kevin is tied to. Yeah. I mean, if Kevin wins this one, he's going to be in next year's. If Jordan Lee wins this one for a 3-peat, he's going to be in 2020.
If you did not qualify for the Summit Cup,
you can do it.
You can do it. At least you could do the Centrals.
But would you want to? I mean, you just left the organization because you didn't obviously think it was valuable enough for you to stay. Why would you want to then waste your time fishing the Opens, especially with the new payout that they just came out with?
Yeah, but what do the guys always say? I'm in it to make money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to make money now with those altered payouts for the Opens. I think it's only 30.
But is it not about qualifying for the Classic though?
Right.
Yes or no?
If you still feel like the Classic is the number one, I mean, if you're fishing MLF now, the number one, the top thing might be.
You still have a path.
Might be Red Crest. The number one might be the World Championship.
They went back and they fished the match thing to get in the Classic or whatever it was.
Right. But that was because this is a crazy Classic and everyone wants to be in the quote unquote last normal Classic. I mean, the Classic's still going to be normal, but I meant with the Van Dams and Aaron Martins. And
so I appreciate Mark sending that to me.
Good.
I have not thought about that until he sent that to me.
No, I think you'll get a couple guys who do it, especially if you're, one of those tournaments is in your wheelhouse, because guess what they brought back? Winning, you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. All right. What else, man? Anything else going on?
It's really kind of quiet, actually. One of the things that we did not bring up last time was, I believe that guy who got 3rd place in the Bass Nation is one of the foreign anglers.
From what country?
That's what I was trying to pull up, and it keeps saying problem loading page. But I know that I don't think they had a Brazil represented. No. One of the guys over across the pond made it to the Classic, came over and beat all the Americans.
Huh.
So he made it. But, looking at everything that's going on, it's really a quiet week. A lot of guys in the deer stand.
It is the holiday.
It's the hunting season, and with the weather that they've had across the country, everybody who can possibly be in a deer stand is in a deer stand. Then you have Thanksgiving. Do we get an MLF schedule before Thanksgiving, or are we going to be into December before that comes out? I'm talking with guys who are fishing the MLF.
What are they saying?
They're getting antsy. They want to know where they're going. They really want to know where they're going.
All right, everybody, stay tuned. Hopefully, we're going to come back with Jay Yelas here on a Thursday. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
sleek new design with easy control file. The clearest images underwater with uncompromising range. Live mapping from the touchscreen. View notifications, video, even Google Maps on screen. And for the first time ever, real-time view of fish movements with live sight sonar. HDS Live. New from Lowrance.
Jacob Wheeler and Tommy Biffle have a lot in common.
Flat bill.
The perfect shape.
You gotta love some light tackle.
I know I have a spinning rod.
I love my hammer crawl.
Biffle bug.
Rigged
On a hardhead.
Well, they could be twins. Bifflebug, Hammer Crawl, Hardhead, from Gene LaRue.
Let me help you, man.
Let me help that hat.
Whoa.
There you go. I already look better.
Pros depend on hydraulic jack plates to get the best out of their boats. Do what they do. Demand Atlas performance. Atlas gets you from the bottom to the top in less than 8 seconds, even with the big 4 strokes. And when you gotta turn right around and get that heavy load back up in rough water, Atlas's innovative design and American-made components will get you there with confidence.
I'm at Depot. Just look for yourself. There's an Atlas jack plate on just about every professional's boat.
The Atlas hydraulic jack plate. You can depend on it.
My rods look different because they are different. Every rod is built by the pros and for the pros. When you pick up a white Duffet fishing rod, you're getting a cutting-edge rod, one that's truly pro-driven, with the actions you need for every bait category you fish. I put my name on it. It's my promise to build you a great rod you can count on.
Ducket Fishing, Micro Magic, Macro Magic, or White Ice.
Try them. They work.
Man, I am so excited to be joining the AFCO Pro staff. They got some really cool, innovative products to help you have a more enjoyable, comfortable day while you're out there on the water. Really stylish, great functional clothing. You're gonna love it. The thing I'm most excited about though is AFCO has pledged to donate 10% of their total profits back to supporting the conservation of our fisheries. And I am all about supporting a company that's about supporting conservation so that we can enjoy our bass fishing for a long time. Check us out, AFCO.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word: confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
SX1 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line.
Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
All right, we are back on a Thursday. Hope everybody is staying warm. Did you see the news, dude, on the weather across the nation, specifically in the east?
No.
Pretty big snowstorms.
Oh,
St.
yeah.
Louis was. It's a good thing you weren't trying to get home because St. Louis got hammered pretty good.
Yeah, I was correct when I said that. I just opened up Instagram. Jason Christie in a tree. Dustin Cannell in a tree. Chris Groh in a tree. Gerald Swindle in a tree. Fred Urbanis in a tree. What percentage of guys do you think hunt? I know there's a couple fishing only, because me and you are.
I'd say
have
80.
you ever hunted?
One time.
For what?
Oh, squirrels. I don't know, something.
You don't even remember the animal you were trying to hunt?
He was just like, hey, do you have a shotgun?
Random hunt?
Yeah, you have a shotgun. There was a dude, he had like 300 acres. He's like, hey, do you have a shotgun? I go, yeah, my dad's got one.
The one that was...
Yeah, the one that's still in the office. He's like, all right, let's go hunting. And I was like, what are we hunting for? I didn't even have a license. I had nothing. Yeah.
That's... I don't know.
That was like the first time I'd ever shot that shotgun.
Varmint hunting, though.
I guess. I don't know what it would kill anything.
I've been in a duck blind with my buddy twice, and he's a horrible duck hunter. Like probably one of the worst duck hunters ever.
That just seems miserable to me.
It was okay. It wasn't. I mean, my problem is I can't sit still. I like to talk.
You can't do that. I can't imagine what it would be like with you in a 2-person tree stand.
They don't have 2 people.
Yeah, they do.
2-person tree stand. What do you like?
Yeah,
sit
like a hut that they actually put.
Oh, that wouldn't be up in the tree though.
Some people build them.
Oh no, I know a box, a blind up in a tree blind. Yeah. No, my buddy's got one of those. Except he's got cable TV and swivel seats in it.
That's not hunting, dude. Anyway, you ready to go to our guest?
I think he's got camo on. He's probably going hunting as soon as we're done here.
I don't know. Let's bring him in here. Jay, you there, man?
Yeah. Hey, Mark. Good morning, Matt. How you guys doing?
All right.
Doing good. I know it's early on the West Coast out there in Oregon, but we appreciate you taking time to come on. And Jay, I'm sure we will talk about it. I'm sure we will mention it. The last time that I was in your boat, I believe, was at the 2002 Bassmaster Classic, and there's a lot of memories there, so we will definitely talk about that. But you're making the decision to make the move over to the Elite Series, and I thought it'd be a great idea to have you on the show to where you can really talk about your decision and your reasons for making the move back to Bass.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's a pleasure to be on your show and get caught up with you guys, see what's going on. It is, like you say, it's a quiet time of year, so a lot of news back in September and October, and things are the dust is finally starting to settle as far as who's fishing where and all that. But I know it's kind of a little bit of a lull before the big season gets started next year. But yeah, I am excited to be going back to fishing the bass circuit. It's where I got my start back in the late 80s, and I did that, as you know, for about 17 years, and then walked away. Been fishing FLW for the last 13 or so years, and looking forward to finishing up where I started.
What was the main reason, Jay,
for coming back, Mark?
Yeah.
I think there's several reasons. I think one is the fact that, Bass is under new ownership, but that was the reason I really left in the first place, was ESPN and the way they were running the show. I didn't really, I didn't enjoy working there anymore. And back in 05 and 06, and they were, they'd bought Bass in 01, and they kind of came in and changed the culture from what it was, and just was not an enjoyable place to work. So I decided to move over to the FLW tour. So the new ownership is very appealing to me at Bass, and that's one reason. But a chance to go over there and fish a much smaller field, that's another reason. Bass has always been the premier. The Classic is the premier tournament in the country, so an opportunity to fish that again, obviously it's appealing, and I'd like, there's a chance at some restoration there for, kind of finishing my career where I started it. And I also, I think their media platform's huge too, and I work with a Cast Kids Foundation, it's a children's fishing charity, and I think that their media platform could increase some awareness for this charity and get more kids out fishing too. So a lot of different reasons, but it's, how life is. Timing is everything in life, and the timing's just right. I'm excited to go back and do it this year. Looking forward to it.
Jay, a little trivia for you, and I'm sure Mark doesn't know this either, but out of that 2002 Classic field, you are the only angler that fished in that classic that is fishing on the Elite Series this year.
No way.
Is that not a crazy stat?
That. Are you sure, like, Clun and Fritz weren't in that?
Oh, yeah, Clun had to be in it. Sorry.
Well, I don't know that he was, though. I think.
Yeah, he had like 36 in a row, didn't he?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a good bit of trivia. That's a big turnover for sure. I actually have a big picture that's framed that's on a wall somewhere in this house that has all the classic competitors from that 02 classic. So I'd have to go back and look at that. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Things are sure changed a lot.
I'm looking up right now. I'm looking it up right now to see if he was.
We'll have to look that up. I think that's the first. That was the one that broke Clun's streak, his remarkable streak of 24 consecutive classic appearances.
Oh, so maybe it wasn't.
Fritz wasn't in it?
No. He didn't not fish in the 2002 Classic. So, yeah, that was right. I thought my stat was right there. I was looking at it. Yeah, I mean, but you're talking, guys like, Aaron Martins, who finished second, and David Walker, O.T. Fears, Larry Nixon, Yamamoto, Kevin Worth, Davey Height. That was strong.
Oh, yeah, it's a great field.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, I'm going to hold this up. I already showed this to some of the fans. I'm hoping that you can see that. Can you see that?
I do see that. Yeah, I sure do, Mark.
How old is that?
That looks familiar to me. That would have been late 90s vintage, I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And of the sponsors that are on there, how many of those sponsors are still around for you?
I can't read all those.
Here, I'll read them off to you. Obviously, Skeeter Yamaha, you're with Ranger and Mercury now, correct?
Correct.
Pennzoil Marine?
Yeah, no.
Berkeley Trilene?
No.
Lowrance?
No, I'm with Garmin.
Yeah. Team Daiwa? No?
I'm with Lee.
Motor Guide?
I did run a motor guide this year.
Okay, and then the last one is Hobie Sunglasses.
Oh, they've been god of the industry for years. I don't know what.
They're making kayaks now, Jay.
Yeah, things change, don't they? I told you I'd give you the shirt off my back, Mark.
Yeah, you did. Absolutely. All right. When you look at Matt, when you look at some of the seasoned vets that have been doing this game over 30 years, there's very few of them that have surpassed total earnings on both tours, both Bass.
Mm-hmm. Of $1 million.
He's over $2 million. All right, Jay's been doing this a long time. But when I went back, Jay, and I looked at some of your statistical information, I did not realize this, and I did not realize this even when you did won the Classic, that your Classic win, the cash amount was only $165,000. Now, I say only because in 2002, that was quite a lot of money, but for winning the pinnacle of the game, if somebody was to say, well, you're only going to win $165,000 for the Classic now, some people would be disappointed. But that was a lot of money back then, wasn't it, Jay?
Yeah, well, it seemed like, I don't remember. I thought I remembered it being 200, but it may have been 165 and a boat.
Yeah.
I can't remember all the details, but I remember they touted it as being a $200,000 prize, but I don't know how that broke down in cash and the merchandise. They used to give a lot of boats away. But yeah, that's, for years, when I started all through the 90s, the Classic paid $50,000 to the winner. And that's, so that was a big jump back then. That was a fourfold jump to get to where we're at, right there with the two. And of course, then it didn't take long to go from that to, $500,000. And of course, the FLW paid $1 million in 07 and 08. So
yeah.
Those are pretty crazy times right in there. The early 2000s leading up to about the peak in 07. With those purses and fishing, and they've kind of come back in a little bit since then. But those are some good times right in there.
Yeah. Andy in Indiana on our instant feedback wants to know, how many years do you think you're going to keep doing this game, Jay?
Oh, I still love it. I'm 53, and I still am in good shape, so I could easily go another 10, if I wanted to, and or more. You see some guys go longer than that. This will be my 32nd year fishing coming up this year, and I start because I started so young, right out of college. But yeah, I see myself continuing to fish for a while. I don't have any retirement date set by any means. I still love it. That's what I do for fun. You guys are talking about hunting a minute ago. In the off season, I don't hunt, but I love to. In Oregon, I do a lot of steelhead, salmon fishing, ocean fishing. I just love to fish, and so that's what I do. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know what I would do if I didn't fish tournaments.
Is this the most unusual off season in between the end of one season and the beginning of the rest that you can remember in your 3+ decades of being in this game?
Oh yeah, this is unprecedented to have, what MLF is doing. I think it's awesome, it's creating all kinds of opportunity for guys and kind of blowing up the scene. And it's what's made America great, is entrepreneurship, and people can have a dream and go make it happen. And so I think it's really shaken up our industry though, and it's going to take a while for the dust to settle, because I don't think our industry is big enough to hold 3 pro tours. I mean, I know the fishing industry is not. If you had a lot of non-endemic sponsors coming in, then yeah, we could do 3 pro tours, but I have a hunch that it'll settle back to 2 eventually. But we'll just have to wait and see. That's going to be a process. That won't happen, overnight or even in 1 year. So, but yeah, things are shaking up pretty big time, but it always changes, usually good, and I look forward to good things to come in our sport.
Jay, how did this opportunity to go back to the Elite Series come about?
Well, they actually have what they call a Legends criteria, and that's for guys that have won a classic. I think you get like 1 point for a classic win, 1 point for Angler of the Year. So I was actually invited a couple years ago, and I declined to fish the Elite Series. The timing just wasn't right, but this time it is, and I think that's Fritz. You saw Fritz go back to fish on that criteria, and so that's the same thing that they invited me off of that. So I'm it's great that they have that. It gives somebody like me a chance to go back and enjoy fishing on that Elite Series again.
Jay, what part, when you look at the Elite Series schedule for 2019, what part of your game do you think that you're really going to excel at? And do you even think about maybe an aspect of your game, even after all these years, that you really need to improve on? What would that be?
My whole game needs to be improved, Mark. I just need to get back to the program. The last 5 years or so, I've kind of fallen off the cart and just haven't been competing at the level that I used to. And I know why. I just haven't been, as dedicated and committed to it and passionate about it as I was. And it's just circumstances, but those are changing. And that's one of the reasons I'm excited to go back to the fish bass in the Elite Series. I think it'll light a fire in me and I can re-engage the passion I have for bass fishing again. It'll be fun again, and it'll be a new challenge. And a guy needs, but this will be my 32nd year, so I kind of need that. I need that we all need that. We all need to be passionate about what we do and love it, and not just go through the motions, but really be engaged. And that'll be me this year. But to get back to your question about techniques and stuff, my 2 strengths, I've always had kind of dual strengths with, jig and spinnerbait type fish, power fishing, square bills, and then also the finesse game. And I remember when I won the FLW Angler of the Year in 2002, I caught almost all my fish that year on a spinning rod. And a lot of that's from growing up out west and learning all the finesse techniques that I did learning how to fish in the West. But I was always kind of really versatile type fisherman. That was, even in my very best years, that's how I was. And as opposed to some of the guys that are really, were specialists with certain lures or techniques that they're known for. I was never that way. I could kind of do a little bit of everything, whatever it took to catch them, and that's kind of how I always enjoyed approaching the game. So but you guys always got to be incorporating new stuff too, and new techniques, and keeping an eye out for the latest stuff, and that's I've maybe not done that as much lately as I need to, but I can get back into whatever I need to. That's what that's kind of what I've always done, is just fish the way I like to fish and be real versatile.
Correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm kind of going out on a limb. This may not be the right road, but if I remember correctly, the year you won the FLW Tour Angler of the Year, like 07, weren't you one of the first guys to really understand and embrace that paddle tail swim bait, the 4 or 5 weighted one, and just seem to absolutely go every single place you went that year and smash them on that thing?
That's what I'm referring to. I won that FLW Angler of the Year twice. Once with a spinning rod in 02, and the second time in 07, I won it almost entirely with a Bastrix hollow bill swim bait. I mean, that was a breakout year for those paddle tail swim baits, and I remember taking that. I just got in such a groove with that, and I took that to like Norman, North Carolina, and Beaver Lake, and Fort Loudon in Tennessee, and the Lake St. Clair in Michigan. Everywhere I went, except for the Potomac River that year. I remember on the Potomac, it was the only lure I could not get bit on was the Bastrix swim bait. But everywhere else, that's all I caught all my fish on that all year, and I just slung it. You talk about confidence. That was so fun that year. I just had so much swag. When I had that thing in my hand, I just knew I was going to catch them, and hardly anybody else in the field had them.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was crazy, and you tried to keep it under your hat as long as you could, because obviously there wasn't, live coverage out about it, and you were able to get it. That was my first year working full-time for you, Jeffries. Yeah. And I remember going to the Forest Wood Cup that year, and they had some Bastrix there. I think it was the guy who even poured them had it. I said, oh my gosh, this is Jay Yelas' bait. I spent every cent that I made covering that. I came home with like $600 worth of Bastrix because of Jay Yelas. Obviously, Steve Kennedy the year before was the one who kind of put it on the map, but with what Jay did all over the country, I lost money covering that event because of Jay Yelas.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you caught some fish on them, though, Matt. Those are good. I mean, it's still a great bait, and I still catch fish on those from time to time, but it's kind of, they lose their effectiveness when everybody starts throwing them. It's kind of like the A-rig. A-rig will still catch them, but man, when that thing was brand new, it just every bass in the lake would come up and eat it, and that's how those Bastrix were too. So bass get conditioned over time to baits, but man, I'll never forget. I'd throw that Bastrix like in 07. We went to Lake Norman in North Carolina. Those fish had never seen it. They were on docks, and I'd reel it along the side of a dock, and every fish that lived under that dock would come out and follow it. I'd have bluegill, crappie, bass. It would be like the Pied Piper, and he'd have this huge train of fish following him. It was like reeling alongside the dock. It was crazy. Yeah, and I've never seen that since. It was just that first year of those fish. Never seen it.
Wow. Hey, Jay, I want to ask you this. In Oregon, when the original Elite Series schedule came out, they were going to do the West Coast swing. They were going to go from the Delta all the way to Washington. Is there not a bass lake in the state of Oregon? Is there bass in Oregon? What's a scoop on that?
Yeah, well, it's Oregon's more well known for its salmon and steelhead fishing and bass fishing. Our best bass fishing is the Columbia River. And that's where that Elite Series was going to go. They were going to go way up to the eastern part of the state, up by the Tri-Cities, Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Columbia borders Oregon and Washington. It's loaded with smallmouth. It's the best smallmouth fishery west of the Great Lakes. And they catch 20-pound bags there all the time. And to win, and it's solid. So that's where the Elite Series was going to go. But there are some places in Oregon where they could hold that out of, but they were smaller communities. And that's Tri-Cities, Washington is the largest community along the Columbia River up there.
Okay. Like when you want to tune up your game in Oregon, where do you go?
Oh, we have all kinds of small fisheries. They're just not large enough to host a major tournament.
Okay.
So to answer that question, we go, the river fishing. There's the Columbia and a lot of its tributaries are full of smallmouth and largemouth. We've got the Umpqua River is full. That's a smallmouth fishery deluxe. It's just got zillions of smallmouth in it. And then we have some good largemouth lakes, but they're small lakes. They're 2,000 to 3,000 acre lakes, and they have a lot of team tournaments and stuff locally on them, and guys will catch bags in the low teens, but they're not large enough to host. It's not even close to hosting a large tournament.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot of small lakes.
All right, forgive me for asking this stupid question, but I've always wanted to know this. Is there fish in Crater Lake?
Yeah, there are. That place. Have you ever been there?
Yes.
Why'd you ask that?
Yeah, because I had heard that there were no fish in there, and I thought, okay, well, Jay'd be the guy to ask. Is there fish in Crater Lake?
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that there's trout in there. Now, it's off limits to fishing. You can't fish it, but I've had people tell me they've walked along the shore and seen them swimming along the shoreline. So there must be some, probably little rainbow trout. There's trout in all those mountain lakes in the Cascade. But yeah, that place is just a volcano.
Yeah.
Blown out. That's filled up with water. It's the bluest blue water you've ever seen in your life. It is just a magnificent sight to see.
It is.
It's incredible. As far as one of a scenic tourist spot.
What were you going to say, Matt?
I've been there. I just remembered. I've been there. My cousin lives in Grants Pass, Oregon. Yeah.
It's far from there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But anyway, hey, when you're doing these steelhead, I got another question. Since we're off topic talking about trout in Crater Lake, I'll just go ahead along with the steelhead. Are you doing like back trolling in the boats? Is it fly fishing? Are you from the bank? Are you drifting eggs? Well, I know Skeet does a little bit of that stuff, but and I'm buddies with Fred Kantawi out there, who's always catching the steelhead. But how do you go about it? Are you super technical with it, or?
Oh yeah, steelhead fishing is the closest thing to bass fishing. I really enjoy it. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. My favorite, I have a drift boat, and I have a trolling motor on the back of the drift boat, a 36-volt trolling motor, and then of course you've got oars for when you're going through the rapids. But the technique we fish is, you drift along and you're reading the water, and steelhead lay in certain specific spots, little cuts and little funnels and little pocket water type spots, and so you got to read the water and cast, and you have to cast upstream so your bait is presented properly right where the fish is laying, and it's boat control is a huge part of that. So I'm always running the electric motor and trying to control the boat. And you're in heavy current. I mean, it's rivers that are flowing 2,000 CFS. And it's an absolute ball. Those things fight like crazy, and so it's all. I use spinning gear, artificials. The little trout beads have been the bomb. It looks like a single salmon egg. It's one single plastic bead is what we started. We figured that out like in 2011, and started a whole craze up here with that. But I have friends that fly fish. I don't do that. That's the hardest way ever designed to catch a fish. But it's a challenge. I mean, I have total respect for the guys that do that. But when I go, I like to take friends or family, and I like to catch a lot of fish. So we don't fly fish because we try to catch as many. Sometimes we'll use bait. If the river's high and muddy, we'll use eggs and yarn and side drift. But it's the bass fishermen out there across America, if they could experience what I have with those steelhead, they would. If those steelhead lived in more places, a lot of bass guys would really dig fishing for them.
Hey, I'm with you. I mean, I've dropped out from a 6 to an 8 peachy pearl. just to try to match that color on the single bead up there. I've done a little fishing on the Anchor River for steelhead up in Alaska, and it is I see a lot of parallels to where Steve Kennedy likes to talk about it a lot. That stream fishing, that heavy current can really play when you transition it over to the bass game.
Yeah, it's so much fun. So anyway, yeah, you can appreciate it. If you ever go out to visit your cousin in Grants Pass, you've got some really good fishing on the Umpqua River and the Rogue River not too far from there. Those are really good rivers for steelhead.
Very cool. All right, back on the instant feedback, Jay. Carl in Ohio wants to know, do you think sponsorship is going to be an issue and more difficult now that companies have 3 trails that they're trying to support?
Oh, that's a great question, and I think yes. The answer to that is it will dilute some of that because the companies have, if you take say Company X, they may not sponsor all 3 circuits, but they may sponsor 2, whereas they only used to just sponsor 1. But I see a lot of that with the MLF. A lot of companies are wanting to get their foot in the door there and throw some money at that just because they see the potential there, and so you'll take a company that used to just sponsor bass, for example. Well, now next year they're going to sponsor bass and MLF, and there might be some that sponsor FLW that might get in there with MLF too. And so they're just placing their bets, and and they're having diversifying their marketing dollars just because they don't know. No, none of us know how this is going to play out 2 or 3 years from now, or further out on the horizon than that. So everybody doesn't want to miss out. But yeah, it'll dilute it some. But at the same time, the economy's good, and there's a lot of non-endemic money that's in our sport right now, and it's a good time to be a professional bass fisherman from the sponsorship side.
Who is going to be your title sponsor in 2019 for your wrap and everything?
I'm still working on some things for next year, so I know I'm still going to be with Yamamoto. They're going to be that's been one of my big sponsors the last few years, Gary Yamamoto Custom Baits, and I'm sure the foundation that I work for, the Cast for Kids Foundation, will have a spot on that boat too, and Lou's and some others. But I got some stuff I'm working on right now, Mark, so it's a little premature to talk about it.
Okay.
There's some that are going to be on there for sure, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, TJ in North Carolina wants to know if you surf fish.
I have surf fished. I do it. I love to do that with my kids. I actually live right on the beach here on the Oregon coast, so we've got surf perch and all sorts of flounder and cod that live out there. We've got this one that's called one bottom fish called a greenling. And it looks kind of like a big catfish, but when you fillet it, the meat is blue. It's a fish with blue meat.
Wow!
And when you cook it, the meat turns white. It's really tasty. So we've got some really cool fish. The surf perch that we catch, I've never caught a fish like this. When you fillet them out, they have live babies. They give birth to live young. It's one of the only fish that I've ever caught that it has. You clean it and it'll have like a dozen little tiny baby perch an inch long, and it's the females do during the spawn. So
wow.
That's pretty cool to have a fish that gives birth to live young. Never caught one like that.
Hey, I want to go back. I want to go back to 2002 and your classic victory. And we have a lot of new listeners and watchers to this show, but I was actually the press observer with Jay on day 1 of the Bassmaster Classic in that day. And I don't think I've ever asked you this, Jay. I recall when we got to the point where you were fishing and you went way where the current, I had never seen anybody fish in current like the current was flowing where Jay was fishing there. And I don't think I've ever asked you, how did you get dialed in to that pattern? Because you pretty much did that for all 3 days, and then obviously you had some other stuff on some docks that we went to, but how did you get dialed in on that pattern in that massive current?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mark, and that was, I love river fishing, and the time previous that fished a classic there in '96. We had a Bassmasters Classic on Lay Lake in Alabama, and I fished up that river some in that tournament. I was the only guy up there, and I remember the last day of that classic, I caught 2 bass that weighed like 7.5 pounds, and they were big 3.5 pound spotted bass. And so when we went back for the '02 Classic, I spent my whole practice up that river, and I just kind of committed to it. And I had, at that time, I'd fished like 11 classics. I'd never won one, and I had always spent my official pre-practice period looking at the whole lake. And so this time I thought, well, I'm gonna do something different, and I'm gonna commit to just fishing in the river. So I spent my whole 6-day practice period in that river, and you could catch those fish when there was no current, but not very good. But as soon as that current turned on, those fish would move right up on the bank and those little undercut banks, and they'd go in there and feed. And it was pretty strong. I mean, if you recall, we'd have that trolling motor on just about high to be able to hold in that current. And boy, that new Ultrex, what a dream that would be.
Oh yeah.
Not current now, but back then we didn't have that, obviously, so we had to just stand on that, that trolling motor to stay in that current, and it was quite the balancing act because you could never take your foot off the trolling motor. And but yeah, those bass, they love current in the summertime, and that was pretty intense current. But right where those fish were laying, they weren't in the heaviest flow. They were up right on those undercut banks in little eddies and stuff near the shore. So, but one of my favorite memories of that day, for your listeners, I fished. Mark was my press observer the first day of the Classic that I won, and I had a great start, caught a bunch of fish upriver, and then we came back near check-in. I had like 5 minutes left. Remember, I pulled over by that dock, and I call it the smiley face dock. It's a yellow smiley face on it, and pitched under that and caught like a 3.5 pounder. So it was just they couldn't do anything wrong that week. It was just my turn. But yeah, those are some fun memories. Long time ago, golly, that's 16 years ago.
Long time ago, and probably the most famous pontoon in the history of the Classic, when the pontoon boat went in between where Jay had his boat and where those eddies were that he was targeting. And I'm sure every time you see a pontoon boat that goes in between you or around you, do you get a little chuckle, Jay?
I do. I've told that story so many times. It's just a great story about, what the deal was there. When it was day 2, I was the leader of the Classic, so I had a large flotilla of spectators. And that pontoon boat was a couple local guys that were out striper fishing, and they weren't there watching me. They were just fishing, and they were drifting with the current. Well, the current drifted them down to where all the spectators were at, and it ruined their drift. And so I guess it made them mad because they fired up their pontoon and went running back up river. But instead of just going straight up river, they came right at my boat, and I'm up against the bank flipping the trees, and they come running right at my boat, and at the last minute they veered off, and they ran right up the shoreline I was getting ready to fish. And it was like one of the most unsportsmanlike things that I'd ever seen in all my fishing days. And so I remember I had a live camera guy, in my boat. Even back then we did that in '02. Yeah, I remember thinking, under my breath, I said, on the camera, I said it would take an act of God to catch one now. And I pitched my jig out there. Long story short, the very next cast after I said that, I caught like the biggest fish of the whole Classic. It was almost a 7-inch largemouth, that was a miracle fish. Give God a chance to show His power on TV, and He took it. And every tournament since then, though, when I pitch my jig out, I'm always under my breath saying, it would take an act of God to catch it. It never happened again just like that. So it was a pretty special moment, but it was, it's amazing when it's meant to be. You could have something as unsportsmanlike as that happen, and it leads to something good. And that's how it went down in '02.
Jay, I know we're running out of time here, but I know you have a lot of memories over on the FLW Tour, and what they have going on over there, it seems to be working for what they're trying to accomplish. But you have to have some great memories for the 10 plus years that you spent over there.
Oh yeah, FLW is an outstanding circuit. They have a wonderful staff, just really enjoyable people to work with, and Kathy Fennell and Trish, Blake, and Bill Taylor, all that. I mean, they could go on and on. They do a really good job to put on a really quality event, and I've enjoyed fishing there immensely over the last 13 years. Back when I first moved over to FLW, that's back when Irwin Jacobs was really heavily involved with FLW, and they had the $1 million purse for the 07 and 08 Cup winner. Heck, I think they paid $1 million to the fantasy fishing winner.
They did, yeah.
And I remember, they used to pay. They had certain tournaments. They'd paid 10 grand down to 75th place. They had some phenomenal payouts. I remember finishing second in a tournament back in that period of time, an FLW tour event. Second place paid $75,000 back then. So that was, they've kind of, the payouts aren't what they used to be over there, and a lot of that, I think, Irwin is retired, and just Father Time caught up with him, and so he's not around. And he's a very influential player. He did a lot of good for bass fishing, and we miss him on the tour, but that's just what happens as time goes by. But it's still a quality tour, a lot of great fishermen over there, and it's a great proving grounds for young guys coming up through the BFL and the Federation and the Costa Series and the tour. So a lot of great pros had got their start with FLW, and it's still solid. So they'll have another good year. I know they lost some anglers this year that have gone to Bass or MLS, but they have a long waiting list of guys that want to fish over there, so I know they'll have a good season.
All right, last question. What's the one event this year that you're really looking forward to?
Oh, probably the Lake Fork event, the Toyota Texas Classic there, because I lived in Tyler, Texas for a long time, 10 years or more, and I used to fish Fork a lot, and it's just full of big ones, and I have a lot of friends, family around there, so without a doubt, I still love all those East Texas lakes.
All right, very nice. Jay, it's been great catching up. We want to have you back on once the season kicks in, and wish nothing but the best of luck to you on your return to Bass and on the 2019 Elite Series, man.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Matt. You guys have a good one. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it, Jay Yelas. Very, very good stuff there.
I also didn't realize the last tournament he won, he didn't win when he went over to FLW in the 13 years. So the last tournament he has won, I believe, was the Classic.
I think so, yeah. He had 2 seconds. I think he finished second at Lanier and second at, where was it? Norman, I think. But I don't think he did. Now, he did win Angler of the Year.
Right, that was the one who was talking about.
But think about what he did. He won the Classic, he won Angler of the Year on Bass, and then he won Angler of the Year
on FLW.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And one question I should have asked him was, do you think he has some catching up to do?
As far as
just some of the techniques and some of
he's been active. He's been on the FLW. That's what he was talking about about how the last 5 years haven't been that great with him.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how he needs to get better on some of the newer techniques. But that's why I brought up the Bastrix thing from the 2007 season when he won Angler of the Year, because there he was on the cutting edge.
That's a great point.
The forefront of that bait, because a lot of people had seen it. Back then that was a quote unquote swim bait. Now guys are calling it like a grub. Because everyone's into the hardwood baits and the glide baits. The glide bait's the same phenomenon. We saw Carl lead the first day of the Everstart Champion or the Costa Championship with it. It's the same thing. You drag that thing down a dock and they all come out at it. It's the same. They hadn't seen the Bastrix, but he was the guy who took that new technique and ran with it an entire year. So I kind of brought that up to say,
no, that's a great point.
You're a guy who is an innovator and has taken new baits before.
No, that's a great point. But definitely got to be one of the guys that I'm going to keep my eye on as far as seeing what his performance is throughout the year, because those 3 or 4 seasoned vets that have been out there, it's going to be
Mark Davis,
David Fritz, and Jay.
Oh, not Mark Davis isn't on it. That's what I meant. David Fritz, not Mark Davis.
David Fritz,
and Jay,
and then Mark Menendez.
Heck, you could even throw Rick Morris into that.
He's been doing it a long time.
He's been doing it a heck of a long time. But one of the things that I had Mark Davis on my mind, because remember when he returned to bass, he started off on fire in those first 3 tournaments in his return to bass.
Yeah.
You know, he had, I think, 3 top 20s to start it off and was in the hunt for the Angler of the Year.
Steve Kennedy, too.
Yeah, Steve Kennedy.
Yeah.
But Steve Kennedy hasn't been doing it nearly as long. You know, Steve Kennedy just came in the mid-2000s, whereas... Yeah. You know, Jason, like you said, he's been doing it out of college. Yeah. But I would expect a pop from Jay right off the hopper, just like Mark Davis did when he came back to bass.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. The other thing I want to mention about the Elite Series field that I was noticing, and this is the first time, I bet you could go back to where they had the BP top 100s back in the early to late 80s, early 90s. There are only 2 anglers from Oklahoma on the national tour for bass. 2.
No, there's no way that's right.
2.
There's no way. Dale Hightower.
Yeah. And the dude from
Luke
Colgate.
Palmer?
Yeah. That's it.
No. There's no way.
Yes.
There's like 10 or 12 that are usually on there.
I know. That's it. 2.
So does that...
So what do you know about Luke Palmer?
I know I need to do a little bit more research. I mean, I know the name. Obviously know the name. I've heard of it. I've heard of him.
Made it through the Opens.
I mean, he's one of those deals where you see him and he does really well, but I mean, I don't know him at all.
Has he fished BFLs in the Okie or Ozark division or anything like that?
I just said I don't know. I need to do some research.
I'm just asking. That's
need to
all
do
I'm
more
doing.
research. I'll make some calls. We might try to get him on?
Yeah.
Because Seth Feider's been
No, try to get and I
we'll
got you
Seth
the list.
Feider on. We're just gonna have some separation. There's a number of podcasts out there, folks.
The only reason I said that is I wanted to give him an opportunity to compare himself to the guys that we are talking about.
And that'll still be a relevant discussion as the year goes on. But the Stray Cast guys got a hold of him last night. I'm sure things got weird.
I don't know about that. They do a good job, man.
I'll see. I got the list. I have no idea. I'll call Luke Palmer, see if he wants to come on Tuesday. If he's available, he might be one of those dudes who's in a tree.
Being from Colgate, I would say yes. You know where Colgate is?
No, I don't.
By McGee Creek. Not too far from McGee
I've never
Creek.
fished McGee Creek.
Really? Well, there's hardly ever any tournaments.
I know,
there
but I'm one of those guys. I enjoy going to small.
I don't even know if it's still a slot lake. It used to be a slot lake, 16 to 22.
Oh wow, that's like Dripping Springs.
Yeah,
I'm fishing 10 killer this weekend.
Another front is coming through on Friday night, Saturday.
What?
Yeah.
Cold?
They're calling for more snow.
Oh.
You looking at the weather forecast?
Yeah. Well, I'm fishing it with Chip Porsche, who's a dude from Oklahoma who fished the Elite Series, 2013 season.
Yeah. Did he get an invite back?
No. And also one of the things we didn't point out, we talked about Charlie Hartley was on that list along with Jay Yelas.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like he got an invite back.
Yeah, but Jay said that the reason he got back was
the Legends.
The Legend, yeah.
But that was Charlie Hartley was on that Legends list. He
doesn't have a classic win.
I know. I'm just saying that text, the photo.
It wasn't a Legends list.
The photo that was sent to me.
That was sent to the the committee? What is that called?
That was sent to the committee.
It's not the competition committee. The advisory council.
Here, I'll show you what it says. It said the Bass Council. For the past few seasons, Bass has extended a special invitation to 2 Legends anglers to compete in the Bassmaster Elite Series in consideration of their contributions to the sport of bass fishing. The following anglers remain competitive on other tours. Please rank them in order you would like to see them considered for an Elite Series invitation 2019. It was Jimmy Houston, Guy Eaker, Jay Yelas, Charlie Hartley, Zell Rowland, and Roland Martin. So he was. But I don't know. Roland's not on it. Zell's not on it. Charlie, Guy, or Jimmy. But Jay took it. Former AOYN class. I didn't realize he was a cup win away from being there with Hackney.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been to a lot of places. I had no idea that you would have ventured to Crater Lake in Oregon. That's impressive.
I have. I've been around.
Yes, you have. All right. Next show coming up on Tuesday, our last show before the Thanksgiving break. And Matt's going to work on getting one of the Elite Series rookies, hopefully the guy from Oklahoma, get his take on
and
why
if Luke
he
can't
made
get
the
on,
decision.
heck, we'll have Dale Hightower come on too.
We'll have somebody on. All right, we're always going to have
one of the
somebody on.
Oklahoma guys on.
All right, I want to say thanks to Mark and David once again for sending us tremendous feedback on some of the stuff that we've been discussing, and I'm really intrigued with this whole open situation. Whether or not any of the MLF guys will fish the Central Opens.
I feel like you can go through that list and highlight 5 or 6 guys who would be most likely
McClellan?
Yeah, you need to look at where the tournaments are, though.
Well, here.
Where the Opens are.
I told you.
That's the key part. And
hang
then
on,
who's
hang
on
on,
MLF, and then match it up
hang
to
on,
who
hang
thinks
on,
they
hang
can
on.
win at that venue.
Toledo Bend, Smith Lake, La Crosse, and Grand Lake. I'd say McClellan would be a yes.
Yeah. And he likes to fish the Opens.
Yeah. How about Toledo Bend? You win, you're in.
I mean, there's a number of guys there that I could see.
Yeah. We'll see. Do some research on that. See what you can find out.
Didn't Ott win at La Crosse?
Yeah.
Seth's had...
Yeah. See what you can find out.
I mean, I would also be interested to see how many of the Elite Series guys are going to fish the Opens, like a Seth Fighter.
Yeah. See what you can find out, man.
All right.
All right, everybody, be safe.
That was a good interview with Jay.
Yeah. Thanks to Jay Yelas for coming on. We will definitely talk to him in the near future. So everybody be safe, stay warm. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.